SADC has been quiet, unusually quiet. After all the incidents, after everything that has been happening in Swaziland, SADC has never said anything. They've never passed a comment, or through their troika, or through their secretaries, or through their spokesmen. They've never said anything. And after being so indifferent to the gross abuse, human rights violations, and murders committed by King Mswati 3 security forces, and after ignoring the harassment, torture and massacre of innocent civilians by Heartless King, SADC has finally budged and is beginning to show that it is quite aware of the humanitarian crisis quickly unfolding in the Kingdom of Eswatini. Ramaphosa, who is president of South Africa, is in his capacity as the chair of SADC Security Council, has dispatched the special envoy to the Kingdom of Eswatini. The dignitaries who constitute the envoy are South African former Prime Minister Jeff Radebe, South African Deputy Minister of Public Relations and Cooperation Candice Maseko Dlamini. Also included in the envoy is SADC Secretary General Elias Mahosi, representative from Botswana in Namibia, and other unnamed SADC officials. Ramaphosa communicated with the king through the phone, and the king assured him that he will avail himself to meet the delegation. Rather, what he's saying that he is prepared and ready to meet the delegation. I think he should be prepared and ready to meet the delegation, because he is not quite ready, he's not quite prepared, he is not in a position, or rather he seems to be ill-equipped to deal with the situation that is happening in Swaziland right now. Meanwhile, the killing, harassment and torture of innocent and armed civilians is still continuing unabated, with some civilians having been killed during the night and some sustaining serious gunshot wounds. 50 of those seriously injured were taken to Mbabane and 30 were admitted in Manzini. A large number of soldiers were already patrolling the streets early in the morning, firing tear gas at any group of people they happened to come across, even the smallest group, and firing rubber bullets at will. At any group that they saw, they would just fire rubber bullets. And some people say that in some cases they were firing live bullets and picking up the shells. Government imposed an internet blackout to stifle communication and weaken coordination among protesters, and also to shield its heinous activities from the outside world, so that the outside world would not know and people would not communicate and would not send pictures and videos to the outside world. People were sighted jumping out of bus windows when they were under attack. This is clear indication that the king is undoubtedly at war with his unarmed subjects. His unarmed subjects, who are just people who are trying to fight to make sure that they survive, to make sure that their lives are better under a chieftain, under a kingship who is not even aware that they are suffering and they are, if nothing, almost nothing to eat. King Mswati 3 is accused of living a life of leisure and reckless financial indulgence, while his people can barely survive and can only scratch the surface to keep body and soul together. They are surviving by the skin of their teeth while he lives large, so to speak. So this king maybe is going to be rescued, or maybe the people who are protesting are not going to agree to whatever SADC and the king are going to discuss and reach on. I mean, the invoice that has been sent with some instruction on what they are supposed to discuss with the king, and maybe after reaching a conclusion they might not even agree with the protesters, who are now demanding that the king himself should resign and rather should vacate that seat as a king. They are no longer interested in the king's in his kingship. Rather, they had rather do without him and maybe just have an elected government, which they will elect under a constitution which allows them to elect their own representative. So this is the stalemate they might reach, even after discussing with the envoy, that the people maybe at this time, realizing that they are really in a good position to win, might not agree to any terms that really do not favor them. And Mswati also, as a king, needs to represent his people very well, because he has always referred to protesters as people who are rather intoxicated, people who are drunk, people who might have taken marijuana. He thinks of these people so lowly. Does he think of his people that he thinks that people are risking their life because they are drunk or they are intoxicated, they've taken some drugs of some kind? He really need to think seriously about these people, so that when he go into a discussion, into these consultations with the SADC Envoy, they will come up with something that is very important, because yes, this accusation is leveled up against him, that he has used the derogatory language to describe his own people, which means that this king is a drunk king himself. He doesn't see the problem that is really is facing, that the problem that is at his doorstep. This problem is quite big. If anyone was king and is in his position, he should start shivering, start thinking of even of leaving that country, because what is happening there, you can't keep on people dying until maybe there is only one man standing, because as a king you are supposed to be king of a people, not king of one person or king of your own, the king of only king of your own family, not you have subjects that are supposed to be under you, and those people, you are supposed to look after their welfare and make sure that they are well fed. If he's a king who really loves these people's misery, then what kind of a king? Maybe he deserves what is exactly happening. That is exactly what he deserves. That he really should face a lot of pressure. Maybe eventually he's supposed to run away from that country and really seek asylum elsewhere, because he doesn't deserve to live in a beautiful country like that and heading beautiful people like that who have been very patient with him. Because initially when this started, they wanted to hand a petition to him so that they can discuss. Then he refused any discussions because he thought maybe everything was okay. How could he think that everything was okay with everything, people suffering in such a manner? Doesn't he go around to see that his own people are suffering? And what does he do if he doesn't do that? He sleeps in his own royal house without even bothering about what is happening to the subjects whose money is spending every day. This is a king that I don't sympathize with. This is really gross human rights abuse that should not be forgiven, especially for someone who pretends to be, leading a people and being king of a people. Kings never behaved like that. The purpose of kings, or rather their job, why they were there, was to look after the welfare of their subjects. And he's doing totally nothing except to use their money to buy things that are stupid to feed his ego.